that doesn't mean that things are always fine.
Yeah.
It almost scared me for a while. I was like, we're not fighting about anything. Does this mean we're in it? Do we care? Like, a lot of people will be like, oh, well, a sign of a healthy marriage is that you're having disagreements and is that you're arguing about things. And I don't know, the biggest argument sometimes is just like trying to figure out where to eat dinner.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Hope in Real Life podcast with Jason Gore. Our team is passionate and committed to bringing you more hope in the everyday, real areas of your life. If this conversation and content is valuable for you, please do us a favor. Like, subscribe, and even share. You never know how valuable it could be to share a little bit of hope with someone else. Let's get the conversation started. What's going on, Hope in Real Life family? Welcome back to a new episode where we here look to share a bit of hope in the everyday moments of our lives. Back here with our good friends, Ayren and Morgan Nelson. You both are starting to become like a regular face on the show.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, this is
That's
fun.
great. Listen, I'm going to take some time off. You guys can start running things. Sounds good. Hey, listen, this week we're going to be talking about a category that impacts so many of us in our lives, which is how to maintain a high level of hope in our marriage. And we were talking a little bit before the show just about how long we've been married and things like that. But hey, let me turn the microphones over to you all and tell us just a little bit about your relationship, how long you've been married and what that's like.
Yeah. Who's taking it?
You got it.
Yeah. So we...
Let's hear from Morgan. No,
This is a test.
Let's not do that, actually. Let's go over.
This is a test.
Yeah. So we met in 2019. We actually met on a church trip. And then, dated for about 10 months before we decided we were going to get engaged. There was, a lot over the course of that 10 months, but I think all good stuff that just, people always say when you know, and that was actually a real thing for us. Dated for about 10 months, got engaged, going into 2020. It was going to be the best year of our lives. It was going to be so fantastic.
In everybody's life.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Actually, I had a bar in my...
you will never forget your anniversary.
That's true. I had a bar in our wedding vows where I said, going into 2020, I expected it to be the greatest year of my life. Then I talk about COVID, and I'm like, but today means that 2020 is still the greatest year of my life. Oh. And dude, so good, right? Man, the dude was cooking back then. It was all that free time we had to come up with stuff like that. But yeah, got married in 2020, had a pandemic wedding, and it was great, honestly. I wouldn't change a thing about it. That was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, since then, kind of making steady progress along the way. We got married in 2020, moved into our first apartment together. Then a year later, we bought a house. A year later, we got our dog before we got our house. That's right. We got our dog, got our house. Now we have a kid on the way. And so just kind of a slow, steady trajectory of, just growing and intertwining our lives together. And
the old sounds like the standard: first comes love, then comes marriage, and then
there you go. All the rest. That's right. All
right. So listen, if you've made it this far and you've just realized, wait a minute, they've been married for 4 years, but maybe you've been married 10 years or 15 years or 20 years, and you're like, okay, am I going to learn anything? Stick with us. Two things. One, we're actually going to have, we're going to have other episodes where we engage the exact same topic and have some vets on the show. And maybe like literally, there's a great couple, Gary and Martha Vet, that would be fantastic to have on here. You all have been married for 4 years. I've been married for 21. Yep. But we're focusing specifically in this episode on the importance of having intentionality and how you engage one another. Mm-hmm. And I'll just tell you, my wife and I, we have a great marriage by most accounts. We're a phenomenal team. She is a great teammate, I think, on my best days. I'm a pretty solid teammate. We understand our roles within our marriage. We understand our strengths, our weaknesses. We get a lot of stuff done. We're able to manage a lot of things. I think by God's grace, we're able to share a bit of hope in the world around us through our everyday lives. But man, this is something, just the her and I time with 3 kids and the activity that we have in our lives. This is something we actually don't do great in. And so I'm thankful that, well, hopefully you guys do well in it. Since
I was about to say, we're just going to sit around and talk about how we all are not good at this.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, let's do this. Let me start out by asking you this then. Yeah. Are you guys both routine people? Like, hey, if we're going to spend time together, we need to do it routinely to make sure that we stick with it? Or is this something like, no, let's just kind of play it by ear and let's on a whim say, hey, we're due. It's time to go out and spend some time together.
I think we've tried both. I think there are certain aspects of marriage that we have tried to make routine. I'm a big Google Calendar user, and if it's on my Google Calendar, it's going to happen. So in trying to make sure that just those core really important things in our marriage happen, I told Ayren, put it on my calendar, and it'll happen.
And I am not a calendar person at all. Like I will wake up and I will look at my, you're not surprised by that at all. I wake up and look at my calendar and I'm like, okay, if it's on there, I'll do it. But I'm not the one to add those things on it. Like Morgan knows for a fact, like if I need to get something in front of him, then throw it on the calendar. I will see it, but it's not my default to do that. I'm very much so like, let me look at what's in front of me today. And then Morgan's like, let me look at what's in front of me for the next 30 years. And so, there's a little bit of that. I think that's where it comes from. I think it's a little bit of give and take for both of us, where she is more structured and routine. And then I can be more spontaneous, but I'm also like, let's spontaneously take a nap instead of doing what we had planned. So, it's this weird kind of back and forth balance between the two of us.
And I would say we've both grown in like the opposite directions, like for each other. And I think that's just like the beauty of marriage and having spent 4 years together. I can't wait to see what the next 40 look like of just aligning more. Ayren is now much more apt to use his calendar and that he actually looks at it and accepts my calendar invitations versus when we first got married, it was just, man, where's the wind going to blow me today? Yeah. And that's how he lived his life. And then I think I've become more willing to be spontaneous. Like maybe it's not on the calendar, but we can go to dinner tonight, or be more spontaneous or even more relaxed in the routine. Because something that I was really bad about was overcommitting us to stuff, adding too much to the calendar.
Yeah, that's probably something that I can't imagine us not getting into at one point, but like even personality-wise, we're pretty different. Like I am more introverted than Morgan is. Morgan is more of an extrovert than I am. She like, let's go hang out with people, let's see our people, let's have a great time. And I will flake and not feel bad about it. Like I can cancel plans and not feel anything about it. I'm like, I just didn't want to do that, so I didn't do it. Yep. She's like, but we told them 3 months ago that we were going to go get dinner. And I was like, but I didn't know 3 months ago from that.
I didn't know that I was going to want to take a nap now 3 months ago.
So then I'm writing like a 1-page like apology letter to the people that we've made plans with. Like I'm so sorry that like something's come up.
Ayren got a little tired.
I'm just trying to come up with something like
Ayren missed his nap today, so we're not going to be able to.
But then we have to like make up for it, so you automatically have to make plans 3 months out again, and then
it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
One thing that Diane and I found, and this is something that's we're similar in our marriage, in that I'm like you, Ayren. Like I used to be a bit more extroverted. I don't know if it's the older I get or I'm just around people all the time, but I'm finding more and more I get more energy from being by myself or like just with the people that I trust, and I can just be myself. Diana really, really loves to be around people as well. I think she loves to be around me, but like she gets, she likes to just be on the go a lot. But like we have learned over the years, I mean, what you just mentioned, Morgan, like I feel bad. Like I find myself regularly reminding us, hey, it's not our responsibility to make everyone happy. I mean, the truth is we're talking about marriage, and like relationships are going to come and go. People are going to move on. Things are going to change. Like circumstances are going to change. Hopefully, Lord willing, which we know it is His will for you to stay together, that relationship isn't going to change. Mm-hmm. So we have to make decisions in our marriage where we say, you know what, it might let that person down, but it's better to let that person down than it is to let my marriage down. Mm-hmm.
And that does go both ways, right? Like there are some days where I'm like, I do not want to go to this thing, I mean, just the reality of it is, with me working at a church, like a lot of time, like just a common example I can think of, one of our worship leaders will go and play live music at a venue somewhere. And for Morgan, it's like, let's go hang out. And for me, I'm like, I'm going to see a bunch of people that I go to church with, and they're all going to want to talk. And it's going to be like, I'm not even going to hear the music in the background because I'm having conversations with the 70, 80, 90 people that are all there, right? So it's two different experiences. But I know, man, Morgan's been working a lot this week and taking care of responsibilities and taking care of the dog and all that stuff. And she needs to get out the house. And so I need to, So it works both ways.
Let's talk about like a relationship when we do feel distant. right? Because when we don't spend intentional time with one another inside of our marriage, we can feel distant. I'd love to hear from the two of you. Like, have you ever had a time period where you have felt that way? And if so, like, what does distance feel like? Like, how do you know? Like, okay, we probably need to be intentional about spending some time together.
I actually think you were the first one that put language behind it. We were doing a marriage class, and we were talking about. They basically asked us, like, hey, what are...
For the listeners that aren't watching, I think he's talking to Morgan when he said you put original language.
Yes. Thank you.
I don't think I ever said that.
Morgan put original language to this. But basically we sat down, and the people who were leading our group were like, when we're done with this, 8 weeks from now, what do you hope is true about your marriage? What do you hope changes about your marriage and something like that? And Morgan was like, right now we feel like passing ships. And so I don't know if you just want to explain a little bit about maybe what you felt at that time, or what made you put that language together.
Yeah, and I will give credit where credit is due. We were going through Reengage, which our church offers us that program to go through. And I think that might have actually been Reengage language in our notebooks, was this idea of passing ships. And it was just, I don't know, maybe a month, maybe 3 months, where there were just demands on each of us as individuals, whether it was work for, it was probably work for both of us. You had a lot of like evening events. I think that's where we kind of feel the biggest strain, is ministry has a lot of outside of your typical working hours demands on your schedule. So it's easy, like if I'm working a 9 to 5 and you're working a 9 to 5, we do that, we come home and we spend that time together, and then we don't have that passing ship analogy. But because of like weeknight commitments and just other things going on, it felt like we were never at the house at the same time, or literal passing ships. Like my car would pull in the driveway, and then Ayren would be backing out of the driveway headed to something else. I was like, okay, well, good to see you for 5 seconds, like long enough to give you a kiss on the cheek, and you're off to the next thing. Yeah, I don't remember specifically like what was going on, but it was just like
that was a part of it. I think we just kind of looked up one day and realized, like, man, I feel like I haven't seen you all week, or like what's been going on? Where have you been? And it was like, well, I'm here, and it was, we sleep in the same bed. We even there are times when we would sit on the couch and watch a movie together that week, but we weren't talking to one another. We were just kind of being adjacent to one another, and after a while, it's just like, man, why do I miss you? Like, we've been around each other a lot, but why do I miss you? And I think the thing the reason why it's easy for both of us to fall into that, and I actually go back to this a lot, is we were both raised as only children. And so I can't speak entirely from Morgan's experience, but my childhood was, and my mom would even tell me this now, she's like, I used to give you a book and put you in the corner and you were fine. Yeah. So guess what 30-year-old Ayren does when he defaults, right? Well, I'm going to go grab a book and sit in the corner and I'll be fine, and not even recognize
there's never like anger or like disagreements going on. It is just kind of our default nature that, I'm just going to go do what I want to do.
I'm glad you said that. We don't argue a ton. Like when people ask us, like, what do you guys fight about? Like, we genuinely, like, there are times where we feel bad because we're like, man, I really don't know. Like, we don't fight a lot. That doesn't mean that things are always fine.
Yeah.
It almost scared me for a while. I was like, we're not fighting about anything. Does this mean we're in it? Do we care? Like, a lot of people will be like, oh, well, a sign of a healthy marriage is that you're having disagreements, and is that you're arguing about things. And I don't know, the biggest argument sometimes is just like trying to figure out where to eat dinner or I don't know, really little things.
Yeah. So I thought, oh, we're not arguing, things must be fine. But that was also an indicator of, but you're just not spending enough time together. You're not talking in general, so.
Yeah, and there's probably something too, again, to the listener that's out there that's been married 20 years. They're probably thinking, well, we've been married 4 years. Kids on the way. Give it some time. We'll see. I'll bet somebody at some point.
We've got enough content. We've got some content coming up.
And it is true, man. It's so important to recognize in our marriages how we were raised into our marriage. I can remember the first time Diana ever came over to my house, like with my mom and my stepdad, and a disagreement occurred between my mom and I, and like things got slightly elevated, and then my brother got involved, and I looked around and I didn't see her, and then I went upstairs and she was in my room upstairs, And I went up there and she was like crying. I was like, what's going on? She was like, with all the fighting that was going on, I just didn't know. I was like, that was not a fight. that was a disagreement. That was a tussle. That wasn't a fight. But her family, I don't know if they listen to this podcast or not. Like oh man. See if they listen or not. Not only do they not fight, like
Thanksgiving is going to be fun.
I would even say they kind of avoid conflict to a degree, and so it's just very like if there's something that's a problem, no, we're just not going to. We don't necessarily talk about it as much, and so, and then that played itself out in the first fight that her and I got into. She was like, it seems like you're so upset," and I was like, honestly, I just kept pushing because it seems like you were not emotionally involved and engaged, and so if you weren't upset yet, then you clearly didn't care. And I was like, well, okay, that's not. So for all you young pups out there, just recognize you might not be the same as your spouse and you could scare them. So just know. Hope in Real Life family, I want to take a moment and let you know about a resource that we have for you for your own personal development, spiritual enrichment, and really a way for you to find a bit more hope in real life. We have a tool for you called the Hope in Real Life app. It offers things like parenting tips, financial resources, marriage insights. If you're looking for it, there's even Bible reading plans in there. And there's a community where you can even share prayer requests and know that someone is praying for you for whatever it is that you have going on in your life. It's available right now in the Apple App Store or in Google Play. You can search Hope in Real Life in both stores, or you can use the download link that is in the show notes. Remember, tomorrow can be better than today, and hope is possible even in real life. You mentioned the passing ships, man. When I first went on staff at Hope, and actually before I went on staff at Hope, I was working full time. I was managing a sales team. We had started a college ministry that was growing at Hope. I was also involved in the youth ministry. And then the lead pastor of the church basically came to me and was like, hey, listen, what if we pay you for your ministry stuff to kind of free you up? To pay you for the work that you're doing, and then you don't have to worry about getting an income from another job. I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then there's never enough time, right? There's always needs. And then fast forward a year, I ended up getting a job offer to go and be a worship leader at a church in Texas. And Diane and I prayed about it, and she was like, I think we're supposed to go. And I was like, what in the world? How have I missed this? Because I don't think we're supposed to go. And when we actually really sat down and dug in, she's like, here's the deal. I don't know if we're supposed to go or not. I want to go because I feel like the time that you're giving to this ministry, I feel like you have a mistress and it feels like it's your job. And I mean, I just think like that hit me like a ton of bricks. It's radically changed how I approach what it is that I do. And I don't get it right all the time, but the boundaries that we try to put in place. But it's just important to realize, man, if we're not intentional, at some point it's going to start to tell on us.
Yeah.
So
that's good.
What are the things that the two of you do to kind of build that time into your relationship to make sure, because you said you went through a season, you're passing ships. You said, I miss you. So what are the things that you found that you can do to make sure that you don't get to that place?
Yeah. We have some that I think are just, so that's another thing on top of us being okay being alone. We also just have different interests. Like she loves Gilmore Girls, and I can watch WWE wrestling all day long, and never the two shall meet. Those are two very different worlds. So for that's right. So for us, we've really had to work at trying to figure out what those things are. That's actually a reason why we started our podcast. It was part of the reason. It was a good time for us to intentionally sit down and like, okay, for at least an hour a week, we're going to process through this together, and this is going to kind of give us some face time, and it's just something fun that we both enjoy. So that's one. We enjoy eating and traveling a ton. So those are probably going to be the two that we naturally go to. So I would say, ever since we started dating, like it's been pretty consistent that we had vacations, times away where we go away for, literally weeks at a time, with just the two of us. That's been that's been great. So the good thing is that it's just the two of us, and we don't have to worry about anything or anyone else getting in the way of that, which I'm sure will be the case come September as well when the baby's here.
I do think it's important to realize, though, it is possible for there to be distance when it is just the two of you. Like, don't take that for granted. You can actually be in the same space, like you said earlier, and actually be distant.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Morgan, what do you
Would
think?
you add anything? Yeah.
One of our trips has now stemmed not a hobby, but like something we enjoy doing together. We're now watching baseball together, which has been really fun. It's a sport that I can keep up with, that I know the rules, and we can have I don't know, I would call it boy conversations, like I can keep up in the group chat with what's going on in Dodger baseball right now. I'm working on memorizing numbers and names and where they play.
You got inside jokes about things we also don't understand.
Yes.
We're Dodger fans. Otani's supposedly one of the greatest players in baseball right now, and every time we've watched him, he's been horrible. And so now our just inside thing is, man, Otani's up to bat. Otani sucks. I don't know. It's just like it's such a little thing that like we know probably isn't true, but
he's not going to be a sponsor.
We just It's just those little things that like create those little moments that are a lot of fun.
Yeah, you took my food answer. We love to eat. But then you also love to cook, and I can be of some assistance. I mean, I'm able to cook, and I think I can follow a recipe pretty well. But like being in the kitchen together is fun, even if it's just like I'm sitting at the island while Aaron's cooking, or sometimes it is vice versa. Just like spending time like together cooking.
Yeah.
I think if I were to give any advice to younger folks especially, but it's really anyone, is, man, put the phones down. You go out to eat, and Diana and I inevitably end up, I don't want to say making fun of, but it probably is making fun of. And you see couples going out to eat, and they're in this nice, beautiful environment, and they share their phones the whole time. It's like, man, goodness gracious, you could do that at home. You could do that plenty of other times during the day, but actually put your phone down and engage one another. I think that's something that I've seen. The other thing, I mean, you mentioned dinner together. A mistake I made, there were times early on when this was before I ended up on staff at Hope, but again, I mentioned I worked on a sales team, was managing a sales team. And there were sometimes, I'm ashamed to say this, but there were times where I knew that Diana was cooking dinner, and I just ended up working late just because I wasn't where I wanted to be yet as far as goals, quota for the month, that type of thing, and work home, and then come home late, and then dinner's cold. And again, you're kind of like, well, what's the big deal? There's it's under foil, and I'll throw it in the microwave. And so it's like, man, no. Young people, especially, again, but anyone in marriage, like, don't be a bonehead. Like if your spouse is cooking dinner for you to come
down somewhere,
but don't be a bonehead. Like if your spouse is cooking dinner for you to come home and eat, go home and eat. Work's gonna be there tomorrow. But guess what? Like, I mean, look, I've experienced this realities on a number of levels, from one of my wife's previous company, to even having to go through it as a leader myself. Like at some point, like your job might not exist. Your spouse is going to be there. And so, man, for goodness sake, like, don't take that for granted.
Yeah.
Do what you need to do. Make sure you're spending the right time together.
That's good.
Maybe along that note, as marriage, like, hopefully we go into marriage thinking, hey, this is a lifelong deal. And so if that's the case, maybe some conversation around some things you found. How do you treat each other that can actually build to that level of connection that we're talking about?
You want to start off on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if I've talked to you about this yet.
This is going to be good.
But I'm biased. I like myself, and I think I'm a great person and a great wife and a great friend. And this just sounds like now I'm just bragging, like I'm awesome. Everybody.
I haven't told you how great I am lately.
Wake up in the morning
we haven't had this conversation recently enough. Let me just lay out right here.
Let me just remind you how great I am. But
how great is Morgan?
I have this like tendency to think like if anything, God forbid, like happened in our marriage and we like separated, it could never be my fault because I'm such a great wife. Like I always think about Ayren's needs before my own, and I just like I have this list of like, man, I am meeting the mark in all of these things, but I can give you a list of things that he's missing the mark on. And the other day I was like, how stupid am I that he has a list? Like, I know there is a list.
No, he actually gave it to us. We're going to talk about it. That's the next question.
Put it down.
But it was just this moment that I was like, gosh, like I have flaws and I miss the mark so many times of being a wife. I watch Gilmore Girls constantly, and the sound of their voices as much.
Oh my gosh. Never mind. I'm sorry.
The same way I feel when wrestling is on, and I'm like, this noise. It's wrestling and it's video game commentators. The guys that just sit and they're like, oh, and then this guy's doing this thing and this guy's doing. I cannot stand the sound, and it's different guys all the time. And I'm like, this is so annoying.
I don't like any of them. They all.
How dare you not use headphones to listen to that or to listen, like to watch wrestling? But here I am, like full volume Gilmore Girls on living room TV, and Lorelai and Rory's voices sound like the same to him as WWE commentary sounds to me.
It's worse.
So yeah, it was just this moment of like, I have been so naive to the fact that there are things that I do that annoy him, that he probably doesn't appreciate. Like, yeah, we could put our lists side by side. Like, you know, maybe he doesn't shut the drawer in the kitchen all the way.
Maybe. It's a hypothetical.
But I'm sure there are things like I've caught myself leaving my shoes in the walkway.
How dare you? I didn't notice that she left her shoes.
But yeah, it was just this really humbling moment of, man, I have been thinking like I am the greatest wife, but I'm sure I have been a disappointment numerous times in the 4 years, and I'm sure in the next however many the Lord gives us together, I will be a disappointment.
Can you repeat the question? I'm just thinking about everything I've done wrong for the last 6 months.
As lifelong partners in marriage, how are we called to treat each other? What are some steps that we can take to make sure that we're, I would even say, outdo and showing honor towards each other?
Did I answer the question?
Yeah, I don't know if you did, but I think you satirically kind of, you alluded to some things that I do think are important. One of them that you mentioned was putting the other person.
Whatever you did answer, I'm certain that you did a great job of it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Because I'm so great.
Is putting the other person's needs above your own. Genuinely trying to think through that and trying to process that. I mean, there are so many things that, like, again, going back to just our personality styles, there's so many things that I'm just so nonchalant about, in the sense of like, it's not a problem right now. It might be a problem later. It might not be. Yeah. When it is a problem, then I'll deal with it, whatever. But now I'm not just thinking about like, hey, I'm not going to remember that, I don't know, that I left this pair of shorts in the middle of the bedroom floor. But you know what? I'm at work and Morgan's working from home all day. So guess which one of us has to stare at it and which one of us is prone to, like, literally I'm not thinking about that throughout my day. But in the moments, I have to try to be mindful of that sort of stuff. So I think that's one, is definitely, being mindful of the other person. In that same vein, I would say it is the sacrificial part of it. Like, there are certain things for me, like certain things that I try to incorporate. So like when I get home from work, I'll just sit in my car for a few minutes and just decompress, because I don't want to come into the house and just unload all of my stuff on Morgan. But also, if I haven't properly unloaded, when she starts sharing things with me, I'm not going to meet that well. Yeah. So I know, I'm like, okay, I need to calm down and at least go into this with enough of a blank slate that I'm prepared for. If I walk through the door and she meets me at the door and wraps her arms around my neck and kisses me, and like, okay, that's one response. Or if I get there and she's threatening the dog, that's another response. I need to be prepared for both of those as much as I can.
If it was this episode or the previous one, but she has both hands around the neck of the dog.
That's right. If that's happening, I need to be prepared
Disclaimer,
for both
I love
outcomes.
dogs. I was part of
Not ours, but other ones she thinks are nice. But yeah, what can I do to prepare myself for both outcomes, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm walking into the house and it is going to be rainbows and sunshine and it's going to be a great evening, then sweet, I can go along with that. But if I also need to go into the house and she's had a tough day and I need to be supportive of that, like I have to have the awareness enough in myself to be prepared for both outcomes. That doesn't mean that I always have to be perfect. That doesn't mean that I always have to be on, but it does mean that I need to be mindful at the least,
Morgan, you mentioned that you're great and and that you had a list.
It's the key takeaway. Yeah.
But you had a list of the things that Ayren, needs to focus on, and which, we all see those things and we know those things with our spouses, the things that we would like for them to get better in. In Re-Engage, one of the things that I regularly hear about is how couples are impacted by the illustration of the circles that you have. And so one of the things that they teach you in Re-Engage is to draw a circle around yourself and then focus on changing the things inside of the circle that you need to change. Don't worry about changing the things that are inside of your spouse's circle.
Yeah.
And over the years, now I don't get this right, okay, but over the years, one thing that I've learned that's kind of this simple mantra, and I don't know that I got it from anywhere, but it's learn the things about yourself. So we need to learn ourselves. For a healthy marriage, we need to learn ourselves. And then we need to learn our spouse. Like we have to be students of our spouse. We have to learn what makes them tick. We need to learn what makes them happy, what makes them sad, what helps them thrive. And then at the end of the day, our energy goes to changing the things about ourselves that we know need to work when we learn about ourselves. But our energy needs to go to serving the things of our spouse that we need to. And so it's just a difference. And what happens is a lot of times we get that reversed, right? And we think, okay, these are the things that I know to be true to be about me. And so I expect my spouse to serve these things about me. Yeah. And these are the things about my spouse that I need to change. And so how do we flip that paradigm and say, no, these are the things that I need to work on and change in myself. And then these are the things that I need to serve for my spouse.
That's good.
But you can't learn those things unless you actually spend time together and connect. And I have found that it always goes better with Diana when I talk to her about the things that I'm struggling with when we're not in a fight. Just spending the time together, sitting on the couch talking or going for a walk, than like in the heat of the moment. And let me tell you another way you're not meeting my needs or expectations in the moment.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, listen, we've been at this for a bit. Here's what I got. One, we said early on, you kind of got to find what works for you. Like some people are introverted, some people are extroverted. We all get energy from different places. Some people are scheduled, routine people. Some people are a bit more sporadic. And some people like to take naps. So who knows what it's going to be? but you got to find what works for you. That's the one thing I took out of this. Secondly, man, we do though need to be intentional.
Yeah.
Because if we're not careful, we can be ships that are passing in the night. And then third, recognizing while we all do know how great we really are, and it's just that other people might not appreciate how great we are all the time, there probably are some things that we need to change, and that's where our energy goes, coupled with making sure that we're serving the areas in our spouse's life in the way that they need to be served. Man, that's good stuff.
That's good. Yeah.
I appreciate you both being on here, as always. Can't wait to get back together again and further the conversation. Let me ask you this as we wrap up. With the two of you, the podcast is called Hope in Real Life. I love to ask our guests this question. Well, what is it that the two of you are most hopeful for in your life and in your marriage right now?
You want to start?
I knew this was a question, and I thought I had an answer, but now
That Ayren would stop watching WWE.
That's it. I hope.
That his love for baseball would outgrow.
I hope that they
WWE.
never make another season of Gilmore Girls ever again. No. My biggest hope, man, as we start to, we're right. I know we mentioned this earlier, but we're right around the corner of welcoming this child into the world.
Yeah.
My biggest hope is that we parent together. That's really it. Is that parenthood is something that draws us closer together, and that we actually grow in our teamwork together.
Yeah.
As opposed to marriage can be this thing where these two people are butting heads, and I don't want to feel like to use a WWE reference, I don't want to feel like it's a triple threat match now, right? But instead, it's that we're on the same
She's
team.
going to rock bottom.
And then that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Can I get a baseball metaphor?
There,
for
if
that?
you got one.
No.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't been watching long enough, but but yeah, just to recognize that we're both in the same bullpen. There we go. There it is.
Okay. All right.
I don't know. Does that work? Is that baseball? That's baseball. Yeah, that's the big thing that we partner together in parenting.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I mean, it's hard not to look at like September 12th as like a deadline of, we're running and we're trying to get to that date. And there's no guarantee that date will be the day that this happens. And then just kind of waiting to see what happens after. Parents will look at you, oh, just wait for this and just wait for that. And a lot of times I think they have good intentions, but it can be negative and scary. And I think I'm hopeful right now. We have 5 weeks before the baby's supposed to be here. That, man, this conversation has been so good to just renew the importance of honoring our marriage or of prioritizing our marriage. So I'm hopeful just in the next 5 weeks that we take our own advice and just prioritize us together and that closeness and set ourselves up well so that when September 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th gets here, we feel like a unit, we feel like a team, and we're ready to tackle this next adventure. I mean, there's so much excitement. There's a fear of losing each other in parenthood, but there's just so much excitement of getting to experience all of this together. I will throw one more re-engage reference in there. We talked a lot about it's not you versus your spouse, it's you and your spouse versus the problem.
Yep.
I'm not calling our future child a problem.
That's the dog.
That's right.
Clearly established.
Our child is going to be an opportunity and a challenge and something that we get to do together. That definitely learning that and re-engage was something that really changed the way I viewed our marriage. Was it's us, we're on a team, and how exciting that we get to walk into this cool season of parenthood together.
Yeah. I'll tell you this, I'm hopeful for the same thing for the both of you. You are two of the greatest people that I've ever had the privilege to serve alongside of. And man, you're bringing a child into the world. And I'm telling you, as one who has 3 kids, it is a beautiful thing, and it is something to be hopeful for. And I'll tell you, it's hard. And but by God's grace, I would say that, and I know Diana would say the same thing, it's probably one of the most beautiful things that we've ever been able to say has come out of either one of our lives, especially for me. And I know that's not the case for everybody. Sometimes people's kids are their primary challenge. I've got 99 problems, I assure you. And there are days when I would say maybe my kids are on that list, but by God's grace, they're not the main thing.
Yeah.
And so
That's cool, man.
I deeply believe that you guys are in for a beautiful surprise, and I can't wait to see what it is that God continues to do, not just in your marriage, but as in your family as September gets here and in the years ahead.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
Really appreciate that.
Well, Hope in Real Life family, we are going to sign off. I usually say at the end of this, if you know somebody that would benefit from hearing this episode, share it with them. So yes, but here's a more specific challenge for you. Share this with your spouse, all right? Don't tag them on social media unless you want everybody to know you think there's something that they need to work on. But listen, share this with them and then spend some time at your next time where you're intentional about spending time together and talk through what it is that stood out with you. Hey, listen, love you all. Can't wait to see you on the next episode. Until then, let's keep sharing hope. See you guys then. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Hope in Real Life podcast. If this content was valuable for you, don't forget, like, subscribe, share. You never know how important it could be to bring a little hope into someone else's life. There's even a place here for you to comment. We would love to hear from you and hear your feedback. Until next time, let's keep sharing hope.